a big reason why, they're losing right now.
Join the Just a Bit Outside crew every Monday, 8 to 10 p.m. on BeExposedRadio.com.
You want to start off?
I think I'll get it out of the way on a who's not.
Okay, do it.
The Orioles.
Right.
They got swept by the Royals. They lost 4 in a row, and the last 5 games have all been decided by 1 run. Mm-hmm. The game before, or the last game that they lost before the Royals was the Nationals, and it was Weeders, of course, won with a home run.
Hit the home run.
Right.
They were going into that National series. It seemed like they were doing so well, and they just crapped out. They got that game postponed, so who knows when they're going to replay that or play that game. Mm-hmm. That's my first not for the night.
Okay. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and weigh in on my who's not, and I'm going to talk about the San Diego Padres.
The Padres. That's okay. You just took my answer.
They're in last place in the NL West. They've lost 8 of their last 10. Their run differential is a negative 65, which is just horrible. So when you have let me just talk about run differential a little bit. It's kind of like the
how much you're winning or losing your games by, pretty much.
Yeah. Okay. It's like the margin of victory, kind of.
Right.
So when you're in a negative number, that means that you're
then your average game you're losing
by a whole lot.
Right.
I mean, a number like negative 65, this early in the season is pretty rough.
That's horrible.
The pitching numbers pretty much support this stat right here. I mean, the team ERA is 4.70, which is 26th in the league. They have 126 walks allowed. They acquired Jared Weaver in the offseason, and he really has not panned out. He's off to one of the worst starts in any of the pitchers in 2017. Mm-hmm. He's 0-4 with a 6.05 ERA. In May alone, he already has 12 earned runs in May. And, another one of their pitchers, Clayton Richard, he's 2-4 with a 4.34 ERA. And, in May, he has 6 earned runs and 12 innings pitched. So they're not pitching well. And on top of that, they are also not batting well.
Right. But it kind of sucks because Manuel Margot is doing pretty good. His the past few at bats, his last.
Join the Just a Bit Outside crew every Monday, 8 to 10 p.m. on BeExposedRadio.com.
Whoa! The moment my son saw a redwood tree.
It's huge!
Is the moment I knew that for him.
You can't even see the top of that thing.
Even the sky has no limit.
There are some moments only the forest can inspire. Find yours at discovertheforest.org. Learn about forests near you and discover cool things to do when you go. Your moment is out there. Find it at discovertheforest.org.
Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Join the club that gives you stuff.
Hey, thanks!
Radio Loyalty.
Here's how it works.
Just click on the Radio Loyalty banner right now and sign up. Then, you keep on listening like you already do. But now you earn points. Those points add up, and you can trade them in for stuff in the Radio Loyalty store. Earn more points by sharing your station with friends on Facebook and Twitter, answering surveys, and by using the apps in the New Players App Store. Pretty simple, right?
Radio Loyalty.
Click that banner to join now.
Hi, I'm LeVar Burton, and I'm proud to be a book person. How do I choose a book? Sometimes it's the cover, sometimes it's the title. I guess I'm pretty visual. If a book's really impressing me and the writing is really good, I will peek and see what the last paragraph is. Because the endings of books should rock you. I am a book person. And if you're a book person too, read to a child and spark a lifetime of ambition. Join me at bookpeopleunite.org because reading is fundamental. A public service announcement brought to you by Reading is Fundamental, Library of Congress, and the Ad Council. Hi, I'm LeVar Burton, and I'm proud to be a book person. How do I choose a book? Sometimes it's the cover, sometimes it's the title. I guess I'm pretty visual. If a book's really impressing me and the writing is really good, I will peek and see what the last paragraph is. Because the endings of books should rock you. I am a book person. And if you're a book person too, read to a child and spark a lifetime of ambition. Join me at bookpeopleunite.org because reading is fundamental. A public service announcement brought to you by Reading is Fundamental, Library of Congress, and the Ad Council.
Green light. Hey girl, school zone. I'm getting hungry. Car changing lanes. You want to meet me for pizza? Stop sign. Intersection clear. Yeah.
You are listening to BeExposedRadio.com.
We straight? All right. So what's up, family? Welcome to the Black Body Man Radio Show. I'm your host, Brother Mike, along with my partners in consciousness. So first we have my co-host, the lovely Miss Janice.
Hi.
How you doing, Miss Janice?
Very well.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
You missed us last week.
Last week I was under the weather.
You was under the weather?
Yeah.
Well, me and Samantha held it down on behalf of BBD.
Right.
And speaking of Samantha, let's welcome Miss Samantha Glam by Sam Dennis.
Hi.
How you doing today, Miss Dennis?
Oh, let me take these out.
She's showing off her little Apple earbuds, right? She's showing off.
I be forgetting that I have them in.
You be forgetting?
Yeah.
All right, so let's get the elephant out the room. As y'all can see, we repping the day with our BBD hoodies, right? See, we got the new black hoodies in, just for y'all. So if you get a chance, check out blackbodyman.com. Get you a black hoodie. Represent. We got the gray ones. Now we got the black ones. If you guys tuned in last week, you'll see I spoke about Patreon. So you can also go to patreon.com/brothermikebdd. My man Nate will put that on the screen. And if you want to help out, man, and help us, come up with funds so we can keep the brand going, keep it live, we definitely appreciate you. But hope you guys like the black tees. I mean the black hoodies. So we in here repping the day, looking like we a team.
Feeling all the unity, right? And everything.
Feeling all the unity. So how was your weekend, ladies?
My weekend was very good.
Was it good?
It was
relaxing. It was relaxing for you?
Yeah, I slept a lot.
Did you?
Yeah.
See, I'm trying to get weekends like you guys.
Samantha,
my weekends be full of work.
Samantha living that life.
My child was gone.
Samantha, you living that life?
Trying to. Trying to.
I'm trying to get me up on the screen here. Let me find myself.
I must be doing something wrong.
They tried to hit me with the flam. Like, can you come in?
No.
So you shut that down?
That's outside my pay scale, y'all. I don't do weekends.
Was they tripping with that?
Yeah. What should come in on your day out?
Should have told them pay me double time.
Right.
Pay me double time and I'm there.
It would have been like, no, we'll work it out. It's fine.
My weekend was uneventful, but hey, I'm cool with that too. Stayed home, got some things done around the house. Did my chores, as we say. I did my chores. And other than that, I was just excited that we finally able to get on social media and say we got the black hoodies. Right. We got the black hoodies. So it feels good to be representing the day with our Black by the Man hoodies. I pray that y'all want to get one and represent for us. Again, go to blackbodyman.com. Remember, buy is spelled B-U-Y. Black is for the people. Buy is how we practice group economics. Demand is for change.com.
Yes.
So you too can get you a hoodie.
And this is actually the great time to sell out of these hoodies. Because right now, it's the holiday season.
The holiday season, it makes a great gift.
Black people have major spending power right now.
I'm trying to tell you.
There you go.
It's all good, right?
Yeah, these hoodies about to sell out.
Find my live feed on here. I'll send out some invites.
Samantha, I ain't seen you since your birthday. How was your birthday?
When you get old and your birthday...
Whatever!
And it's just like...
Oh, boy.
Who parties anymore?
Whatever. Okay.
I'm pushing 30. I can't do nothing.
Pushing 30.
Yeah, it was just like one of them. Man.
You pushing 30? What are you still 3-4 years away from 30?
I'm 27.
Jeez.
That's not that. When you're 25, you can still say you're a little bit young. But
no. Yeah, as long as you're still in your 20s, you can still say it.
I don't feel that way.
In 30s. 20s, 30s, and 40s, and 50s. I don't think you can start talking that way until you're at least 70.
She ain't there yet, right?
Yeah.
No?
Nah.
Not even a little bit?
Nah.
I feel old.
You feel old?
I feel older. I feel old. I feel older.
27?
Yeah. A little bit of a midlife, not midlife, but like a quarter life crisis. Like, what am I doing with my life?
It brings about different thinking.
Yeah. I think that's, not why I'm so down, but it's a little bit more of a self-reflection kind of time.
Okay. Let me see if I'm on point here.
I think at 27, I probably was there too. I probably was thinking the same thing.
You see what everybody else is doing, what you're not doing. So
Oh yeah, you get caught up in the comparison thing.
Yeah, when I was 27, that would have only been like.
Never let me find my life feed. I don't want.
Keep calling it a tablet.
That would have been.
That could be the mistake right there. Keep calling it a tablet. It's an iPad. Yeah, why don't I have my live feed? Come on, man. Don't do me like
All right,
this.
so y'all want to just jump into the
Yeah,
current
let's go ahead and get
events?
into current events, and I'll work with the technical difficulties over here and try to get my act together.
All right, so the Florida police chief, let me try to pronounce his name, Raimondo Atisiano, he got 3 years for plotting to frame black people for crimes. So he was sentenced to 3 years in prison for ordering officers to arrest black people for crimes they did not commit, in order to give the impression of his department was solving crimes. Yeah, he would use a specific code that was meant to alert officers that a person of color was seen in the city and they needed to be stopped and confronted.
Wow.
So he framed multiple black men and teens with this. But he did get sentenced to 3 years.
They put him away?
Was 3 years enough? No?
Probably not. I mean, I'm sure the people that he got sent to jail got more than 3 years. You know what I'm saying?
Think about that.
You know, I'm sure they got more than 3 years.
Wow. I didn't really think about that.
Right. Don't make no sense, right?
Tiziano, he framed multiple.
I'm going to send out some invites here.
So also, you see we got an indictment for the Amber Geiger, the one who killed Botham Jean.
I did see that.
Oh, okay. No, I didn't know that either.
So they did return with an indictment.
This was
murder.
the chick that shot the black dude? Okay, in his house and claimed, you know, she was a mistake. She was in the wrong house.
That one.
So the grand jury
them
did
tables,
come back
they turning, man. Them tables is turning.
with an indictment for murder. So now all we have to do is, you know, see it through.
See it through, and of course, it'll end up being another scenario like the one you just explained. Even if she's found guilty, she'll get 3 years.
Yeah, because her attorney is blaming the
Do
indictment
18
on
months and be home.
politics and vindictive emotion. So he's saying that's the only reason, you know.
Not based on facts.
She was indicted. Right. It was just based on, you know, all the emotions and politics and everything that's going on.
All the excuses that are only allowed for them. They never allow a black person to say, you know, my emotions were riled up. Which is interesting because we're going to be talking about that today. I'm sending out some invites here. What else we got going on, ladies?
So, what do you think about the police pointing the finger at E.J. Bradford? That was a 21-year-old that they killed in the mall. That when they shot the wrong person, they implied he shouldn't have had his legal gun out.
Was Black Friday? That was Black Friday.
What I want to say to that is that dominant society are the kings of loopholes. You know what I'm saying? They make loopholes specifically so they can jump through them. Okay, that's what they make them for. They got a loophole for everything. Sad.
Yeah,
but again, it's all a part of the awakening. That's what I'm hoping people are starting to register in their mind. This is the awakening. And unfortunately, like I had referenced before on the last show, you know, if you imagine being woke up 4 in the morning, you know, you wake up a little grumpy. So we still a little grumpy about the awakening. But the awakening is going to continue to happen. So whether you choose to ignore it or not, it's going to keep going. And, you know, God willing, it doesn't end up on our doorsteps. You get what I mean? But I feel that that's what's going to happen to those who choose to continue to turn a blind eye to the reality of this racist society we live in. You know, it's a racist society.
Yeah, the awakening is going to keep going. What about the 2 Minneapolis cops that in the black community in their precinct, they decorated the Christmas tree with things like Newport cigarette packs, a can of still reserve malt liquor, police tape, a bag of Takis, and a cut from Popeye's chicken. They decorated the Christmas tree in the precinct with that. What do you think about that?
I think we're at a time where you keep having people show you and explain to you that they hate you. Stop trying to love them.
You think that was racist?
You know, I think everything they do is racist. You get what I'm saying? But you know, I digress. You know, I digress. But of
bag of
course.
Takis on there, though. Why they gonna put it?
So that wasn't even funny.
You know, like it's behind everything. That's a true reality that I feel that Americans, and I'll just speak on behalf of us as black people, we just don't want to accept it. This is a racist society. 99.9% of the shit that they do is based on racism. And it's just something that we as black people don't want to face. Even when they kill us, we still looking for that benefit of doubt. Well, I guess he shouldn't have pulled his gun up. Man, get out of here, bro. You know what I mean? If you watch some videos with white people getting pulled over by the police, they jump out trucks with swords and guns and all kinds of stuff, and then they get talked down, right? They don't even tase them. Brother jump out the car with his wallet.
I saw a video yesterday of a
Get
guy.
hit with 16 shots with all he got. It's ridiculous.
Seriously, he got pulled over and he was in and out his truck, and the officer steady holding his gun, but in the midst of this guy jumping in and out, you know, throwing his hands around, I'm like, but he's not shot yet. Like,
moving everywhere.
He was like, "You're gonna shoot me in front of my child." A black person wouldn't even got that far to even be able to say something like that before.
Say something. We wouldn't have been able to move.
Right. And he in and out his truck cursing, and his wife, you know, leaning over the seat, putting her head. I'm like, so where does the part come in where you fear for your life and you guys? Where did that come in?
Where'd that come in? Yeah, like I said, I just, you know, and again, I'm nobody, but I'm just saying, I feel it's a lot of prophetic things happening. We are in the awakening, and it's going to force us more and more to see the reality of the people we're dealing with. Like, you are no longer going to be able to continue to go through your life and ignore what white people do to us as a community of people, all because you cool with the ones you work with, or your wife is white, your boyfriend, husband is white. Okay, that's your business, but that has nothing to do with the reality of what those people do to us as a people. You get what I mean? So the more we've been ignoring this year after year after year, the Most High is going to force us to see the reality of it.
So they do all of this,
forced on us,
but they still target our dollars. About the Christmas trees, I wanted to say, like, did y'all know they were selling black Christmas trees now?
I didn't know there was such thing.
They have black, yes. All black Christmas trees.
All black Christmas trees.
What is that about?
I don't know. Probably just to make more money off of us.
Jeez. I mean, who's going to buy the black Christmas trees?
Right. Well, look, I'll tell you a quick story, right? Because this is a true story. I had a brother come to me one time. We in the barbershop. And he said he had gotten an argument at work with this white guy over Santa Claus, because he was saying that Santa Claus can be black. And the white guy was offended. It's like, Santa Claus is not black, you know what I mean? This, that, and the third. So they got into an argument. So he comes to me and tells me about it. I'm assuming he came to me thinking, I know Brother Micah understand where I'm coming from, right?
Okay.
So he ran the story down to me. And I told him, I said, he was like, you know what I mean, Brother Mike? He was like, you know, like, if we want Santa Claus to be black, we can make Santa Claus black. You know what I mean? And I disagree. I disagree. You know, and I'm going to tell you why I disagree. Because you have to understand, Santa Claus is their creation.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? It's their creation. They created Santa Claus, and just like everything else, whether it's Santa Claus or Jesus, they created in their image. So the fictional character Santa Claus is a fat white man who comes down the chimney. It's their creation. I'm saying, as black people, stop trying to get these people to change their creation to fit you. It's not our creation. Santa Claus is white. Let him stay white. Create something yourself. You get what I'm saying? Like, stop trying to force white people to change their creation to fit you. I mean, think about if that happens. Then we're going to have a black Santa Claus, an Asian Santa Claus, a Middle Eastern Indian Santa Claus, a Nicaraguan Santa Claus, an African Santa Claus. Like, it's ridiculous. It's their creation. So he never looked at it from that perspective. And what I said to him was this. Here's my analogy. Like, we all grew up, our generation, with Fat Albert. What if white people made a new Fat Albert cartoon and made him white?
We would be so
black people would have a fit. You understand what I'm saying? So when I told him that, then he got it. I'm like, so stop trying to get them to change the characters and fictional stuff that they created for themselves. Santa Claus is white. You understand what I mean? You're not going to be able to take European traditions and then turn it into a black tradition. It's just not. Create your own character, you know? I mean, I know some black people that come down your chimney for free. You know, so yeah, so you know, I disagree. Santa Claus is white. You know, not that I even care about Christmas, but I'm just saying we have to get in that mindset where we stop wanting to adapt their creations and then flip it into ours. I'm saying let's create our own. And I believe it's the brother who did it. It's called Kwanzaa. But I digress. Never see black people fighting over that. I digress. But anyway, let's keep it moving. So again, we wore our sweatshirts for you guys today so you guys could check out the black hoodies. They're made of great material. It's a Gildan soft style ring spun cotton hoodie, right? So for those who don't understand what that means, that's just fancy words for this is an old school hoodie, old school cotton, old school champion type Russell, you know, feel to it. It's a very comfortable hoodie. We would love for you guys to have one. Check it out at blackbytheman.com. Remember, buy is spelled B-U-Y. And also, if you'd like to become a patron of ours, go to patreon.com/BrotherMikeBBD, and you can join one of the tiers for $1, $5, or $15 a month, and have access to certain private information and things that we give as perks for our patrons. So anyway, let's get into it. So let's talk about today's show. So today's show, I got a new book. We've done a couple shows on the 48 Laws of Power. 48 Laws of Power was written by Robert Greene. So, of course, that was like a national bestseller for the past 20, 30 years.
Okay.
So he finally came out with another book, and it's called The Laws of Human Nature. So this is the book, and again, I don't get paid to promote this for anyone, but I'm not worried about him making money. I'm more worried about giving information to black people that could be useful to us. So I pre-ordered the book. It finally came in. And I just kind of got into reading it. And he's got some great laws in there. So today I wanted to go over a little bit of chapter 1, which is the law of irrationality, mastering your emotional self. and I thought this would be good for us as black people because we are very emotional people. Now, whether that's good or bad is debatable because I personally believe that that's just who we are. We're emotional people. But unfortunately, we live within a society who has labeled the way that our emotions are as being negative. And they labeled it so well that you actually will not be able to function within their society unless you get your emotions in check on a level that they feel is in check. So it's kind of a double-edged sword there. But we are emotional people. Okay. And I do know that as a people, myself included, I always let everybody know I'm no different, right? Like we definitely get ourselves into situations reacting on our emotions, right? So it is something that we could consider opportunity for, you know, looking into the actual science behind it and, you know, how we can change things, so forth and so on. So I thought his book would be a good start for that. You know, let's talk about emotions because we all have situations and stories throughout our life where our emotions have caused us to make an improper decision. I know I have.
Well, that's pretty much, isn't that pretty much what we have been seeing in the news lately? Anybody?
Bingo. The bell is back. The bell is back. So yeah, that's that's what I'm talking about. Let me send a hello to everyone. Hello, everyone. By the way, I was having a little technical difficulties here, but I'm going to send it out. So yeah, I figured we could go over some of the things that he has spoken about in his book because I find it to be useful information. Now, you know, though Robert Greene is not a black man, let me just say that he's not, but information can come from all different sources. You know what I mean? You know, if you believe in the Most High can put a spirit on a child that can teach you something. You know, so I absorb information from all different sources.
Hey, Black by the Man, don't discriminate.
Yeah, we don't discriminate, you know, especially when it comes to information. We like our hoodies to be worn by everyone, you know, because if you wear this hoodie, no matter what race, color, or creed you are, what it says is that you believe in supporting black businesses. That's what Black by the Man is all about, supporting black businesses. So anyway, so let's talk about keys to human nature. And he does this in all of his books, as well as the 48 Laws of Power, just to kind of give you a backdrop on what's going on. All right, so keys to human nature. He says, when anything goes wrong in our life, we naturally seek an explanation. To not find some cause for why our plans went astray or why we face sudden resistance to our ideals would deeply be disturbing to us and intensify our pain. But looking for a cause, our minds tend to revolve around the same types of explanations. Someone or the group sabotaged me, perhaps out of dislike. A large antagonistic forces out there, such as the government or social conventions, hindered me. I received bad advice or information was kept from me. Finally, if worse comes to worse, it was all bad luck and unfortunate circumstances. Sound familiar, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I like that. I was sabotaged.
Right. You know, this is what he's saying we go to, right? These explanations generally emphasize our helplessness. Yes, we might be responsible for some of what happened, but for the most part, other people and antagonistic forces tripped us up is what we believe. The truth, however, is very different from this. Certainly, there are individuals and larger forces out there that are continually having an effect on us, and there is much we cannot control in this world. But generally, what causes us to go astray in the first place, what led to bad decisions and miscalculations, is our deep-rooted irrationality to the extent which our minds are governed by our emotions.
You mean I wasn't set up?
Yeah, that's pretty much what he said. You wasn't set up. It wasn't a conspiracy, unfortunately. It wasn't a conspiracy. So I like that. I think that, like, I call that like a mirror effect. You know what I'm saying? Like, when you read something like that, it's like somebody just took a mirror and was like, boom, see that? That's all you. That's all you. All right, so he says to understand, he said the first step toward becoming rational is to understand fundamental irrationality. There are two factors that should render this more palatable to our egos. Nobody is exempt from the irresistible effects of emotions on the mind, not even the wisest amongst us, and to some extent irrationality is a function of the structure of our brains and is wired into our very nature by the way we process emotions. In all cases, the degree of awareness represents the difference. Rational people can readily admit their own irrational tendencies and the need to be vigilant. On the other hand, irrational people become highly emotional when challenged about the emotional roots of their decisions. They are incapable of introspection and learning. Their mistakes make them increasingly defensive. Do we know people like this? Hold up, shit. Am I like this?
Pretty much.
So
you mean, can we kind of see this in everybody?
In everybody, and that's what he said. You know, let me read that part again. Let me see, because he just said that. Okay, nobody is exempt from the irresistible effect of emotions on the mind. Now, I think that's very important to say because we all do know people who are more emotional than, say, like the average. Okay, so what he's saying is you're no different from them. Right. You're just keeping track of theirs. Ooh. Like their emotions come out this way, say at work, right? So you might have some people that are emotional at work, and then you may be the calmer person, right? But then you may be emotional at home with your partner, with your spouse, and that person may be calmer in that.
But everybody has those triggers, like in something that I wouldn't react to, Miss Janice may fly off the handle of. I think it's a matter of, I guess, your awareness of yourself and, I guess, being responsible enough to know when to fly off the handle.
So let me ask this. Do we feel that as a community of people that we may be a little irrational sometimes?
Yeah. Oh, that's deep rooted.
Okay. All right. One bell. Okay, so we agree on that.
Yes.
I mean, I personally think that as black people, we can be very irrational and very emotional with the decisions we make, so forth and so on. But I want to make sure I'm being careful with the way I say it because I don't want anyone thinking that means that we got ours in check, because we don't. You know, I've said it many times before when we do these shows and we teach on these books and these things of that nature, it helps us as well because we're here checking ourselves as we learn this stuff.
Right.
You know, like we leave the show like, yeah, I'm going to work on that, right? So we ain't no different.
Yeah, doing these shows really help us.
Yes.
Like, it helps.
That's what I'm saying. Okay, so he says, fortunately, to acquire rationality is not complicated. It simply requires knowing and working through a three-step process. First, we must become aware of what we call the low-grade irrationality. This is a function of the continual moods and feelings that we experience in life, below the level of consciousness. When we plan to make our decisions, we are not aware of how deeply moods and feelings skew the thinking process. They create in our thinking pronounced biases that are so deeply ingrained in us that we see evidence of them in all cultures and in all periods of history. These biases, by distorting reality, lead to the mistakes and ineffective decisions that plague our lives. Being aware of them, we can begin to counterbalance their effects. Second, we must understand the nature of what we call high-grade irrationality. This occurs when our emotions become inflamed, generally because of certain pressures. As we think about our anger, excitement, resentment, or suspicion, it intensifies into a reactive state. Everything we see or hear is interpreted through the lens of this emotion. Third, we need to enact certain strategies and exercises that will strengthen the thinking part of the brain and give it more power in the external struggle with our emotions. So, three-step process. Low-grade irrationality, high-grade irrationality, and the need to exercise and strengthen the way that we think when it comes to emotions.
I could have used that, like...
This is easier said than done, right?
Very much so. I could have actually used that advice years ago. Like, I lost a promotion, you know, over my emotions before. But of course, you know, like he said, you know, of course, some of you, like, you know, I was set up.
It was all those factors that he mentioned previous, right?
But you
they
know,
set me up.
But you know, like, you know, weeks later, you know, a higher up came back to me and told me, like, you remember that incident when you blew up at? Yeah, I remember.
Right, right.
So.
And that's why I thought this was important, because we all have those situations. We all have experienced situations throughout our life where our emotions took us somewhere, and then you walk away and you just like, oh God, why did I say that? Woo.
Or better yet, when you blow up and then 5 minutes later you're like, oh, I'm wrong.
Right, but nobody comes back and says that. Nobody comes back and says that. Everybody just rolls like whatever. She still was talking to me disrespectfully. We justified, right? So low-grade irrationality. Let's tackle that one first. Low-grade irrationality. Function of the continual moods and feelings that we experience in life below the level of consciousness. So low-grade irrationality, what I'm getting is that he's saying we're not considering the mood that we're in when we're making decisions on things. Like, I think it's very powerful to be in the midst of a situation, especially if it's something that's bothering you, and then you can just kind of like freeze, like, you know what, let me think on this. Because it's like, who does that?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, we black people, our shit's more like, rah! You know what I'm saying? What you say to me?
Right.
Rah, rah, rah. So that's why I wanted to do this, because I want to master my emotions as well.
Right.
You know what I mean? I want to get control, because it's power in that.
A lot.
It's a lot of power in that.
A lot. And
you know
if you want to have success, you're going to have to.
Say it again. Say it again.
Right.
You know, like, that is true. If you want to have success in this society, you definitely got to have your emotions in check. We can tie that into the whole police situation. You know, part of the trick, and again, this is just my opinion, with the police is that they know black people are naturally emotional people. So you deal with these younger black men or younger black women, or just us, period. They are trying to get your emotions riled up. You know, that's what's going to be their support for killing you, for tasing you, for beating you up, because they were giving you instructions, you didn't follow them, you started hollering and screaming, so forth and so on. Now, the thing is, I'm not saying that those people are wrong for reacting the way they react. I'm just simply saying it's delivering bad results for us.
Right.
So having a show where we deal with checking your emotions, I think it can help all of us, as well as help, you know, younger folks who get a chance to see this, so forth and so on, because it is important.
Yeah, you ever heard of the saying, check your emotions at the door?
Yes, I have. You know what I mean? I definitely have. And again, easier said than done. Yes.
When somebody got you fucked up. But they got you, like.
He said, you just gonna react on that, right? It's going down. Okay, so that's low-grade irrationality. And then he speaks on high-grade irrationality. He says this occurs when emotions become inflamed, generally because of certain pressures. As we think about our anger, excitement, resentment, or suspicion, it intensifies into a reactive state. Okay, so for me, what that means is, and I've said this before, because I know I've done this. I'm a Scorpio, things kind of dwell on me. So if you screwed me over on Monday, and you thought I was mad at you on Tuesday, wait till Saturday. Wait till I've had Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday for that to marinate on me. I'm really going to be mad, right?
It marinates, and then you find other reasons why you should be mad or why you justify it.
Exactly. Like, you will even recite other instances where that person screwed you over.
Listen,
before you know it, you like, you know what, that's the third time you've done that to me. You start going back. So he's saying that's the high grade irrationality.
Yeah, because is that what you said earlier when you said you just keeping score of the other person's?
Right, exactly.
Exactly. That's the third time.
That's the third time.
What?
because like, I'm sure we've all dealt with people like that. I know I have. You know, like people who you like do things for, do favors for, and you do a lot. And you know you've done a lot. Yeah. But they kept track of them 3 times you said no. Like, yeah, I ain't want to ask you because you always saying no.
You like, that's where they have and that's when you have to fly off the handle.
Like, wait a minute.
Man.
I thought I said yes a lot, right? A lot. And so third, he's saying we got to exercise, you know, these pieces of information that we're given. We got to exercise this in our brain. So it's 3 steps to help you begin your path to irrationality. So step 1 is to recognize the bias, which I found this to be interesting. It says emotions are continually affecting our thought process and decisions below the level of our awareness. And the most common emotion of them all is the desire for pleasure and the avoidance of pain. So he's saying that this is behind everything. The desire for pleasure and the avoidance of pain. Our thoughts almost inevitably revolve around the desire. We simply recoil from entertaining ideals that are unpleasant or painful to us. We imagine we are looking for the truth or being realistic, when in fact we are holding on to ideals that bring a release from tension and soothe our egos, make us feel superior. This pleasure principle in thinking is the source of all of our mental bias. If you believe that you are somehow immune to any of the following biases, it is simply an example of the pleasure principle in action. Instead, it is best to search and see how they continually operate inside you, as well as learn how to identify such irrationality in others. All right, so I want to go back to the pleasure principle. Okay, let me read that again. We imagine we are looking for the truth or being realistic, when in fact we are holding on to ideals that bring a release from tension and soothe our egos to make us feel superior. This is the pleasure principle. Have we heard that before?
That's all.
I was about to tell you, Janet Jackson's been told us about the pleasure principle. You know what I mean? Janet been told us that, right? Yeah. But I never really understood what she was talking about. And being that it was music, I just thought it was sexual.
Yeah.
I just thought it was sexual. I didn't know it was anything else to it. Jeez. So he's saying this is the pleasure principle. You know, like we're imagining that we're looking for truth. And, you know, I'm just a truth seeker. I'm being realistic. Right? And he's saying it's not true. What you're doing is soothing your ego and making yourself feel superior. I object. I object. And then the icing on the cake, he says that if you believe you are somehow immune to any of this biases, well, that's the pleasure principle in action.
Right.
Thinking this doesn't apply to you. That is interesting. What's your take on that, ladies?
So, I'm just thinking like, so pretty much we're going to have to let go of everything we know.
To get a control of the emotions?
Yeah. Everything we know, everything that we know and was taught, to get a control over our irrationality.
So do you mean like as far as like as black people, we kind of support each other's emotions going astray?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, and I think we do too. I think we do too.
I mean, think about it. When you get an emotional, first person you run to is a friend or a family member.
Okay.
So, and they're going to support that.
And they usually
you're going to run to the one who's going to support it.
True.
And that's what you, in the back of your mind, you're going to the person that you know is going to understand.
That's going to support it.
Why you feel that way. So if somebody had you up, you're going to go to Shaniqua and be like, oh yeah, she had you up.
Soothing your ego, right? That's what you said.
She's not going to tell you that you're wrong for acting like that. She's like, yeah, she was wrong.
Hold that thought. Hold that thought. Okay, stay with us. We up on the first break. We are talking the law of irrationality today. Black by the Man Radio Show, y'all. I like it.
Friday, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Every Saturday, 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. Real artist, real talk, real live on BeExposedRadio.com. I was meeting with a friend yesterday, and I've gotten to the point where don't ask me a question because the truth is going to come out. And
exactly.
Just don't do it.
If you ain't looking for the truth, don't come to me.
Don't do it because I can't hold my tongue. And she wants to be this stylist, boutique but you're not doing anything in that nature, and I can't take you seriously if you're not doing those things. And I understood why people didn't take me seriously, because I found myself in somebody else's lane. I was good at what I was doing and what I wanted to be, but I wasn't doing it for me. So how can I ask you to take me seriously if I'm living in somebody else's shoes?
And nobody can do what you do, and I think that that's a big problem that people face now. Like, you see what somebody else is doing and you want to do that when that's not your lane.
That's not your lane.
That's not what you're supposed to be doing.
But it's popular, it's getting that person money, it's getting that person applause. Oh, I want applause. I want money. Let me stand over here behind them.
And then a lot of times people aren't honest with themselves either. Like, I was thinking earlier today, I've been woke for almost 2 days, so so you get honesty, yes. And I was thinking, like, you know,
the Artist Exchange Radio
Here's what you missed on Salacious Life Radio.
You know, when it comes to your children, especially if you're dating someone that you actually like, you do want it to work. So you're gonna hope and encourage the relationship between your child and that person because you like that person, you know. So you're gonna hope for the best. I mean, sometimes it just doesn't work, and you can't make it work. You can't force it. It's like a branch. You keep bending it. Eventually, it'll snap, and even if you put it back together, it'll never be what it once was. But you definitely pray on it. You hope for the best, you know, because like nobody wants to spend the rest of their life alone just because a particular relationship didn't work out, but you had this beautiful creature as a result of it, you know. But you don't want to necessarily spend and you're not all of a sudden a bad person. You're not all of a sudden not going to fulfill this other person's needs.
You, madam, are a harlot and a scoundrel.
Because I had one kid while I was still married. Like,
but what if you?
I take that back.
What if the situation turns around the other way? So you ready for your child to meet? They meet the person, and this person is a giver. So this person's buying your child lots of gifts and wanting to.
I would usually.
Do you
like,
let?
You don't like if it's a birthday or some sort of holiday or something like that. Okay, and they want to get them a few things or get them something. Okay, but just on like a regular basis, like unless it's like Nestle's Quick or something that you can get from like, you know what I'm saying, or like Kit Kats or something like that. Like, no, don't spend a lot of money.
You are listening to BeExposedRadio.com.
People owe me money, bro.
Send them an email. Let Deer Park know I want my money.
Play a hater, get away. All right, welcome back, everybody, to Black by the Man Radio Show. We are talking laws of human nature. This is the author of the 48 Laws of Power, Mr. Robert Greene's his new book. So we thought we'd go over chapter 1, dealing with emotions.
I like that book already.
Self-control of your emotions, right? The law of irrationality. So we were talking the pleasure principle. So that's the bottom line of what's going on with that, right? He's saying that's the pleasure principle. Mr. Marvin Dixon says sometimes we have to detox our mind in search of new energy. I like that, Marv. That's what's up. Appreciate you tuning in, brother. Yeah, so we're trying to bring about some new energy on how to deal with emotions. You know, so I kind of like some of the angles that he's coming from. The pleasure principle, again, my first hearing of that was through Janet Jackson, but Janet, you never explained this part of it. Thought she was just talking about sex.
She couldn't fit all that in.
She couldn't fit all that in. She was on there showing them emotions. Janet jumped on that chair. Kicked it over in the whole nine, right? All right, so he says there's 3 steps to help you begin your path to irrationality. The first step is recognize the bias. So we dealt with the pleasure principle on that. Now, within the biases, it's a few of them. So the next bias is the confirmation bias. So he says these are people who say, I look at the evidence and arrive at my decisions through more rational processes. To hold an ideal and convince ourselves we arrived at it rational, we go in search of evidence to support our view. But because of the pleasure principle and its unconscious influence, we manage to find the evidence that confirms what we want to believe. This is known as confirmation bias. That's different, right? Sometimes you read this stuff and you just know it applies to you. You know what I'm saying? I'll be reading it like, oh man, this is me, right? We also see this at work when people are supposedly asking for advice. This is the bane of most consultants. In the end, people want to hear their own ideals and preferences confirmed by an expert opinion. They will interpret what you say in light of what they want to hear. And if your advice runs counter to their desires, they will find some way to dismiss your opinion and your so-called expertise. The more powerful the person, the more they are suspect to this form of confirmation biases. Is that true?
Yes.
So sometimes when we're seeking advice, we're not really looking for advice.
That's all the time.
Right? Just really looking for them to confirm your idea.
Yeah, pretty much. You're I'm going to say never, but 9 times out of 10, you're not asking advice because you have no clue what to do. You're just looking for somebody to confirm what you already believe in. To do or whatever you already have in your head, or you know.
And he said, and if they don't, you dismiss them.
Yeah.
Wow.
You move on to the next person. I want to do this.
He's like, yeah, I just talked to what's his face. I tried to get her advice, but she don't know what the hell she's talking about.
Right. So the next time,
which basically means she didn't agree with me.
Right. The next time you're in a meeting and that, you know, the higher up is agreeing with that one person, it's because that's their idea. That's how they feel. So that's why they agree with that person.
So this is one of the biases, right? And he said that's the first step, which is learning about the biases, right? Yeah, recognize the bias. So confirmation bias is one of them. So we're not really looking for people's advice. We're looking for confirmation on the things we believe in. That's deep. Let's read a comment. Ms. Johnson says, we are good at making excuses for people and our bad behaviors in the reactions displayed based on emotions. Possibly a possible way to control is to think before reacting. Take 30 seconds to walk away, then address it. Oh, it's good advice. I like it.
Well, not only that, now you know why, you know, we're good at making excuses for people. Obviously, we feel the same way.
Hey, the BBD radio show, y'all. I'm trying to tell you. I'm trying to tell you. Changing lives every Monday from 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. Stay with us. All right. So, yeah, I believe in that. I believe in that. I definitely believe that, you know, I may have done that once or twice. You know. I may have done that once or twice. Like, yeah, you know what I'm saying, brother? Actually, I disagree with what you said. See, that's why I don't talk to you. Okay? I'm out of here.
I've tried that before. Like, in the midst of an argument, I've tried to be like, you know what? I'm mad. Let's talk about this later. And the person that I was going back and forth with was like, no, we can talk about this right now.
So you checked your emotions, but you couldn't get them to check it.
I was trying to be like, you know what, we're really high up right now. We both need to step back and, you know, take a minute.
Well, that's very mature of you to even try that, yeah.
But the other person was like, oh no.
We getting this on right now.
You, what's up?
Right.
And it's like,
you black, I'm black, you know what you did, and you know what it is. We about to get it.
I think they were just looking for that. You know, that kind of.
Think some people thrive off of that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, what about if some people, what about if for the ones who don't thrive off of it? What about the ones who, you know, really is trying to get it settled right now? Because even sometimes when you be like, let's discuss it later, that can lead to bigger problems. Because now you get to think about what you were saying earlier, the 3 times they did this before.
True. More time to marinate.
Yeah.
So maybe
now
if
it starts building and building and building, and now it's like.
So maybe if they are forcing you to have the conversation, you just got to try to keep your emotions in check.
But why do it that way when you can both, you know, take a step back and then. In
30 seconds.
In the midst of that argument, you don't even remember what you're really arguing for. So if you take a step back, then it's like, okay, you can get to the root of the actual problem versus just saying he ain't shit.
There you have it. Yeah, because you can only control your emotions.
Right.
But we up on another break. Hold that thought. Hold that thought. Stay with us. We got another break. Black Bottom Man Radio Show. Yeah, hold that thought.
Yeah, but then you're going to remember I just did the same thing last.
Driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text. Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. Or better yet, designate a texter. For more text-free driving tips, visit stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
Green light. Hey girl, school zone. I'm getting hungry. Car changing lanes. You want to meet me for pizza? Stop sign. Intersection clear. Yeah, street. Pizza sounds good. Ballin' Street? Girlin' Street!
It's hard to concentrate on two things at once, like texting and driving. Stop the text, stop the wrecks. How will you stop texting and driving? Tell us at stoptextstopwrecks.org. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Whoa. The moment my son saw a redwood tree
It's huge!
is the moment I knew that for him,
You can't even see the top of that thing.
even the sky has no limit.
There are some moments only the forest can inspire. Find yours at discovertheforest.org. Learn about forests near you and discover cool things to do when you go. Your moment is out there. Find it at discovertheforest.org.
Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Join the Just a Bit Outside crew every Monday, 8 to 10 p.m. on BeExposedRadio.com.
You want to start off?
I think I'll get it out of the way on a who's not.
Okay, do it.
The Orioles.
Right.
They got swept by the Royals. They lost 4 in a row, and the last 5 games have all been decided by 1 run. The game before, or the last game that they lost before the Royals was the Nationals, and it was Weeders, of course, one with a home run, drove
Right, hit the home run.
Right. They were going into that National series. It seemed like they were doing so well, and they just crapped out. They got that game postponed, so who knows when they're going to replay that or play that game. That's my first not for the night.
Okay. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and weigh in on my who's not, and I'm going to talk about the San Diego Padres.
The Padres. That's okay. You just took my answer.
They're in last place in the NL West. They've lost 8 of their last 10. Their run differential is a negative 65, which is just horrible. So when you have well, let me just talk about run differential a little bit. It's kind of like the
how much you're winning or losing your games by, pretty much.
Yeah. Okay. It's like the margin of victory, kind of.
Right.
So when you're in a negative number, that means that you're.
You are listening to BeExposedRadio.com.
All right, so welcome back, everybody. We are back from break. So we was going over step 1 of the 3 steps, which is recognize the bias. So one of the biases was confirmation bias. So we agreed there might be some truth in that. All right, so the next one is conviction bias. So he says these are the people who say, I believe in this ideal so strongly it must be true. We hold on to an ideal that is secretly pleasing to us, but deep inside we might have some doubts as to its truth. And so we go on an extra mile to convince ourselves to believe it with great vehemence and to loudly contradict anyone who challenges us. How can our ideal not be true if it brings out such energy to defend it? We tell ourselves. The bias is revealed even more clearly in our relationship to our leaders. If they express an opinion with heated words and gestures, colorful metaphors, and entertaining anecdotes in a deep well of conviction, it must mean that they've examined the ideal carefully to express it with such certainty. Those, on the other hand, who express nuances, whose tone is more hesitant, reveal weakness and self-doubt, they are probably lying, at least so we think. This bias makes us susceptible to salesmen and demagogues who display conviction as a way to convince and deceive. They know that people are hungry for entertainment, so they cloak their half-truths with dramatic effects. So this is the conviction bias. So we're so strongly believing in whatever the ideal or situation is that we just can't see that it might not be true. Talk to me. An example offhand? Well, I think Black by the Man is a really great ideal, right? And of course, I'm passionate behind it. I'm the creator. So he's saying sometimes we can feel that way, and it's just because it was, our ideal. I've convicted myself that this is great. Everybody else might feel like, not so much. And so we're going to oppose anyone that opposes, our idea. We're not able to look at it from a neutral standpoint. You're looking at it from the standpoint of you created Glam by saying. So it's going to be hard for you to step to the side when someone else critiques it and says, I think this is incorrect. I think you should do this, do that. You're not going to really be feeling that.
Bitch, shit's fire.
Right, because you believe in it by conviction because it's yours, right? So that's what the initial statement was. How can this not be right when I feel so passionately about it? So it's conviction bias.
I like the idea of getting past the bias.
Yeah.
First.
The bias is he's saying that these are the steps that cause irrationality. You know, whether it's the first bias, which was
it totally makes sense.
Confirmation bias, right? And then the second one's conviction bias, right? So we're confirming, we're convicting, and that's what's keeping us, you know, not being able to see from a neutral perspective. So we're being irrational with the way that we are viewing the particular situation, so forth and so on.
I like it.
You like it? Okay.
The conviction part, I mean,
talk to
given
me.
those examples, I feel like it would be a good thing though. But what would make it a bad thing?
He said, we hold on to an ideal that is secretly pleasing to us, but deep inside we might have doubts as to its truth.
Okay.
You know, so let's take, I don't know, let's say the NAACP. You know what I mean? Like, there are people who are very passionate about that, you know, but deep inside, do they really believe it's helped black people? Even though they could be the leader of it and be on Front Street and saying this is the right thing to do, this is why we created this, so forth and so on. But deep inside, they can really doubt if it's really going to make that change. So they're going off conviction. You know, that's what popped in my head. May not be the best example, but you know, I thought it was pretty good because they ain't done nothing. But anyway.
and then I guess also what can make it bad is, I mean, even if you believe in it so much to the point where you don't want to hear any other ideas about it, one that can even help. But since you're like so set on like, no, this is it, and maybe it could be hurtful there because it can actually still be helpful to what you're doing.
Yeah, he's saying this is one of the biases that keep us irrational.
But because we don't want to hear it, we just simply, you know, like, no.
Right. Done with that, right?
That don't make no kind of sense.
All right, let's do the next one. So the next one is the appearance bias. He says these are the people that say, I understand the people I deal with. I see them just as they are. So this is that person's perspective, right? Says we see people not as they are, but as they appear to us. And these appearances are usually misleading. First, people have trained themselves in social situations to present the route that is appropriate and that it will be judged positively. We take the mask off for reality. Second, we are prone to fall for the halo effect. When we see certain negative or positive qualities in a person, like social awkwardness or intelligence, or other positive or negative qualities are implied that fit with this. People who are good looking generally seem more trustworthy, and in particular politicians. If a person is successful, we imagine that they are probably also ethical, conscientious, and deserving of their good fortune. This obscures the fact that many people who have gotten ahead have done so through less than moral actions, which they clearly and cleverly disguise from your view.
So pretty much if you're ugly and intelligent, it's just, you got nothing.
Yeah, well, you know, that's what he's saying. You know, like appearance plays a big factor. You know, like if you see a politician speaking and he's a very, you know, nice looking or nice looking politician, dresses nice, he's saying that's adding to you believing in their integrity. Yeah. Right. This is the appearance bias. Okay. You're biased because you're thinking, how could such a nice looking person be deceptive? Wow. And he's saying in all reality, these are some of the most deceptive people on the planet.
Right. Go for them.
Right.
Wow.
So this is a bias that could cause you to make an irrational decision, such as voting for him. Right. Wow. That makes sense, right? Yeah. Appearance bias. And, you know, he was saying, you know, social awkwardness and intelligence. You know, so take social awkwardness. Like, that's never viewed like good with humans. You know what I'm saying? Like, we almost pity the person with the social awkwardness. The person who walks out on stage and trips when they're walking out or drops the microphone. You get what I'm saying? Or, you know, they walk out with toilet paper stuck to the bottom of their shoe. You know, the social awkwardness.
It makes so much sense because just think about it. Like, so appearance bias been used against us since forever then.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So. Good point. The lovely Miss Janice. This is why you the co-host. That's what's up. That was a good point. Appearance bias is used against us. You know, I can be in here right now with this hoodie on, right? And we know this hoodie represents positivity. It represents group economics, and it's for anyone who wants to support black businesses. But all I have to do is walk into a store and pull this hood up, and now I'm a whole different person. I'm no longer Brother Mike. You understand what I'm saying? I'm no longer the host of the Black Bottom Man Radio Show. I am now a threat, all because I pulled the hoodie up.
Yeah, but think about it. It goes deeper than that. Like, if with their appearance bias, because as a black man and white man, you know, who you think people gonna listen to?
Sure, that's the image they've set up in society. Yep. So appearance bias, I think that is a good one. I think that's definitely one to be aware of that could lead to irrational decisions. You know, you can't just go off someone's appearance, because a lot of people look very pleasant.
I like it.
But isn't that taught to, I guess, black children in general, like growing up? You was taught to comb your hair, be presentable. Like, you may not have it, but you're always taught to look like you have it. So I guess that plays into the being accepted or coming off as if, you know, acceptable and supposed to be here.
Sure.
Maybe
sure.
that's probably what your parents was thinking back when they was teaching you that, the appearance bias. Maybe they was more aware of it than, you know, of course we are now.
Oh, they were. You know what I mean? Like, you know, like as black people, I'm sure everyone's familiar with, but you know, you're taught as a black person. Like if you say you at that job, you've been working at GM for over 10 years, 15 years or whatever. Like the older black folks would teach you, you know, you go out and buy that new car, don't drive that car to work. You know what I mean? Because there's going to be people at that job that are going to feel a certain way about you having that nice car, you know, because you're black. You know what I mean? And just within this society, it has never been promoted for us to be happy. You know what I mean? So anything that we start displaying, you know, some happiness for racist white people, and I say racist because it's not all white people, they're going to have a problem with it. Have a problem with it. So that is appearance bias.
I like it. I like it, and it makes so much sense too. Because you know, even when you, like, let's take a job interview for example. Even if you're out on a job interview, that's why it's very important for a person to be doing the interviews who can be neutral, because that way they won't get caught up in the appearance bias, right? Or any other, you know, bias out there, and they can make a decision. Gotcha. But it kind of makes you think now that, you know, some of those decisions may have been made that wasn't irrational. Right. Right. I like it.
Yes, I like that too. So I'll read a comment. This is from my man Billy Oz. What's up, homeboy? It's my man Billy Grace in the building. Billy says that's a great point. Pretty people are often ugly inside. Trust should not be given so easily, especially when looks can be purchased nowadays. Absolutely, yeah. So you you can really be an ugly person, and you can make yourself look better if you got some dollars. Yeah. You know what I mean? You can clean that up. Marvin Jackson, what's up, Action Jackson? What's going on, Couser? Appreciate you tuning in, brother. You too, Billy. Appreciate y'all. That's my Grace crew. You know what I'm saying? That's my Grace crew. So yeah, so I think that was a good bias. I think that was a good bias. So let's move on to the next one. So the next one he says you got to be aware of is the group bias. So these are the people who say my ideals are my own. I do not listen to the group. I am not a conformist. We are social animals by nature. The feeling of isolation, of difference from the group, is depressing and terrifying. We experience tremendous relief when we find others who think the same way we do. In fact, we are motivated to take up ideals and opinions because they bring us this relief. We are unaware of this pull, so we imagine we have to come to certain ideals completely on our own. So this is speaking about influence of the group. So he's saying we tend to think that all of our ideals were original to us. But in all reality, the people we deal with, whether it's work, family, like they had an influence on it. You know what I mean? Because we tend to gravitate towards, you know, the group opinion, which is true. I could tell you a big one on that. I could tell you a really big one on that, but I don't want to get nobody upset today. What?
Yeah, spill it.
Christianity's a big one. I've spoken personally with Christians who have issues with some of the teachings, and they know the teachings are incorrect. But they cannot imagine themselves not being a Christian. See, it's the group bias. What am I going to do if I'm not a Christian no more? What am I going to do if I don't have the congregation and, you know, all the things that go on with a Christian church? I've literally had people say that to me, like, I know things ain't right, but I can't pull away. See, that's the group bias. That's what he's saying. You're so ingrained in that group, you can't imagine yourself, you know what I mean?
Not being a part of it.
Right. And at the same time, you can't imagine yourself having, you know, ideals that they actually influenced. You think it was all you, but they really influenced it.
That's in most workplaces as well, that group bias.
Absolutely, absolutely. Like when my son got his first job, I explained to him things that wasn't explained to me, which was, when you get your job, you're going to have to adhere to the rules of that job that is set in place by the people who hired you. And then once you get on your team, then you're going to have to adhere to the hidden rules that your team has, because they living in, you know, seniority and all that. Well, you should get here 15 minutes early. I've been here for 17 years. I've been coming in a half hour early. Least you can do is come in. And see, when you young, all you know is this. The papers say I ain't got to do that, right? But you don't know the political side of working with adults, right? You will conform to the way they want you to be. You're on our team. This is what we do. I mean, I had a job in particular when I was younger. This is what I got in trouble for, right? And I ain't gonna put the job out there. This is what I got in trouble for. I was like 23 years old. They all smoked cigarettes. So when they would take their 15-minute break, they would go outside and smoke cigarettes. So first few times, few weeks or whatever, I would go out there. And then I'm like, I don't smoke cigarettes. So I would stay in the break room. Now, I was smart enough even at that age to know when they came back in from their break, even if it only been 10 minutes, if they going back on the floor, I'm going with them. I was smart enough to know that, right? Oh, I got in trouble because I wasn't even going out there with them. Well, you should be out here with us. I'm like, I don't smoke cigarettes. Well, so what? You know, you were part of the team. Next thing I know, I was in trouble. I was getting written up, right?
Wait, you got an actual writer for that?
Hey, they find reasons to write you up. They didn't write it up for that. They'll just find something else. But it's slapping you around because you're not conforming to what the group wants. So I had to warn my son about that. You know what I mean? I had to give my son information that was never given to me. You know, such as when you go to a job, adults should not need supervisors. Why would a pack of adults need a supervisor? You know why? Because if they don't, they'll act like children. They won't come to work. They won't get the job done. They'll be in there playing around, might even have sex in the bathrooms. You get what I'm saying? So I wanted him to understand, you're going to be working with a bunch of adults who are more childish than you.
I feel like there's always going to be like the work rules and then the rules for the black people that work there in their jobs. Like, you can't even, it's not acceptable for...
Order up!
Come on, Sam. You know we have our own personal set of rules.
Like the rules and then like the rules for us.
Right.
You got 15 minutes late.
You 15 minutes early.
Right. So I had to explain that to him. So that's the group bias. You know what I mean? It works both ways. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't smoke cigarettes, but I got in trouble. They felt,
you got rid of
oh, I'll give you one more. Let me give you one more.
Next time
you
gotta go out there and let
this same particular job, right? This same particular job had tuition reimbursement. So again, I'm 23 years old, right? I started going to the local community college, right? And you know, during the breaks, I was bringing in my books and like reading while they would go out on smoke break. Oh, I got in trouble for that too. Got in trouble for, this is what they told me. They said, now remember, they're paying for this, right? They told me that by me being in there with my college books, I am throwing in the face of people who were 40, 50 years old that you're going to be here the rest of your life and I'm not. 23 years old, I had that never even crossed my mind. But they were offended that I was showing them that I'm going to move on from here at some point because I'm taking these college classes.
What do with you?
Nothing. And that's why I've been self-employed for 20 years. Because I don't have time for that bullshit. I retired my tap dance shoes and my top hat. I don't deal with it. But that's what I'm saying, the group bias. You know what I mean? And I knew my son wasn't prepared for that. This was his first job, first full-time job. I'm like, son, sit down. I got to talk to you. Because you're about to encounter some things that you, at your age, could never even comprehend. You know, could never even comprehend. You said someone got a question?
You got a question.
Oh, from Action Jackson. Michael, are you talking about the electrified saltwater company? No, actually, I'm not, Marvin, but what's that all about?
I don't know. I'm asking a question.
Oh, okay. Yeah. You got to clue me in on that, brother. I'm not sure about that one. But yeah, so it's rules. So I know that group bias exists. Yeah, all right, so let's move on. So the next is the blame bias. And this is people who say, I learned from my experience and my mistakes. Mistakes and failures elicit the need to explain. We want to learn the lessons and not repeat the experience. But in truth, we do not like to look closely at what we did. Our introspection is limited. Our natural response is to blame others, circumstances, and monetary lapse of judgment. The reason for this bias is that it is often too painful to look at our mistakes. It calls into question our feelings of superiority. It pokes at our ego. We go through the motions pretending to reflect on what we did. But with the passage of time, the pleasure principle rises and we forget what small part in the mistake we ascribe to ourselves. Desire and emotion will bind us yet again, and we will repeat exactly the same mistake and go through the same mild, recriminating process by forgetfulness until we die. If people truly learn from their experience, we will find few mistakes in the world and career paths that ascend ever upward. Guilty. Guilty. So he's saying, you know, we're lying. You know what I mean? He said we're lying, and you know, and we really don't like to look closely at what we did. Now that definitely has truth in it.
That has a lot of truth in it.
You know, I like to think that I pride myself, and if you can catch me slipping, let me give you my take on it, right? Now, it's a little different from this, but it kind of adds up the same thing, right? If you're a person that comes forth with knowledge, so forth and so on, right? People are anxious to prove you wrong, right? Because in their mind, they believe, here's a person, he's not going to deal with it well if I prove him wrong. You get what I'm saying? And that's a natural thought of people if they deal with somebody who provides information. But I'm saying, if you think that with me, you are underestimating my intelligence. Because when you are wrong about something, people's power meters go up. You know what I mean? It starts filling up, right? Because they know they got you, right? And now they want to tell you that you're wrong, and they want you to go through this, what he said, making excuses, songs and dances. That ain't what it was, but you wasn't talking about that when you said it, right? And all that does is raise their power meter higher. So you know what I do? If they catch me up and I was wrong, I say, you know what, you was right, I was wrong. And you know what that does to the power meter? Bring it right back down, right? Now, let me add the icing to the cake. Not only have I just stripped you of your power because I admitted my mistake, I admitted I was wrong, but now the other 5, 6 people that you had on your team that was ready for me to battle you, once they see that I submitted to you and said I was wrong, oh, they on my team now. Because when you keep talking shit about it later, you know what they're going to say? Hey, at least he apologized to you.
Right, let it go.
Let it go, bro. He apologized. Yeah, so what I'm basically saying is don't fuck with me like that. Because I will get you. I will tell you, yep, you was right, I was wrong. What we eating for lunch? As you say, you got me fucked up. Got me fucked up. Think about that though. Strip them of their power. People want power. Let me tell you, they want that power so bad they can't wait to see you. They've been waiting for 3 days to run into you. Hey, how you doing? You know what? I've been waiting to see you. Remember the other day when you said, yeah, it's gonna get on you, right? So they thinking you gonna come with that battle. I ain't got no battle. If you was right, you was right. I like learning. You know, you can teach me something, please do. Nobody likes to be proven wrong. Nobody likes to be proven wrong. I'm just saying I'll make it difficult. I'll make it hella difficult. I'll tell you my secret. Okay? And you all can apply this if you're listening, right? The way that you keep your batting average good with being right or wrong.
I know the answer to this.
Yeah, you just stick with the shit you know about. Yeah.
Right.
If I don't know about it, I'll tell you I don't know. That's like a taboo word with a lot of people. You know, just say you don't know. I don't know. But anyway, stay with us. We up on another break. Black Bottom Man Radio Show. We'll be back. Yeah.
This flashback from the Artist Exchange Radio Show.
That's the biggest thing, is just empowerment. Just get off of the begging line. Just be proud and just get our pride and our dignity back, because as a child we're taught how to go and beg for a job. Our parents, they literally taught us how to make sure you pull your pants up. Me, I'm 6'7", so I'm a bigger man. I was always taught how to not be threatening or intimidate people when I go into different interviews or different scenarios. And so we're literally taught how to condition ourselves, condition our speech, everything, in order to go and beg these people for a job, because we know when we walk in the door, I have to tear down 10 stereotypes before I get past hello. So we need to eliminate that. You know, and we need to eliminate that, and the way that we do that is employing ourselves and employing our brothers and sisters. And so that's our mission, is group economics, uplift ourselves, because I can't empower anyone until I empower myself. and change from just being willing because it's in my heart and my passion to see my people succeed and see us do better and change the social order, because I know that we are not supposed to be on bottom. I understand who I was. I know I didn't fall out of the sky and land on a plantation. So when you have knowledge of self and you know who you are and what you come from, it's frustrating more than anything to see us in this position.
Tune into the Artist Exchange every Friday 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. every Saturday 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. live. Be exposed.
Join the club that gives you stuff. Hey, thanks! Radio Loyalty. Here's how it works. Just click on the Radio Loyalty banner right now and sign up. Then, you keep on listening like you already do. But now you earn points. Those points add up, and you can trade them in for stuff in the Radio Loyalty store. Earn more points by sharing your station with friends on Facebook and Twitter, answering surveys, and by using the apps in the New Players App Store. Pretty simple, right? Radio Loyalty. Click that banner to join now.
Hi, I'm LeVar Burton, and I'm proud to be a book person. How do I choose a book? Sometimes it's the cover, sometimes it's the title. I guess I'm pretty visual. If a book's really impressing me and the writing is really good, I will peek and see what the last paragraph is, because the endings of books should rock you. I am a book person, and if you're a book person too, read to a child and spark a lifetime of ambition. Join me at bookpeopleunite.org, because reading is fundamental. A public service announcement brought to you by Reading is Fundamental, Library of Congress, and the Ad Council.
Check out this flashback from It Is What It Is radio show.
Paul he was chilling, he was doing his thing. Y'all, you feel me? Love y'all family, you know what I'm saying? And like, for him to be taken away from you, snatched away from you just like that, you feel me? It's like damn. Another good one gone. You know what I'm saying? Like, why you taking the good? You know what I'm saying?
You always end up asking like, why?
And like again, it's a lesson that it's a test of faith. You feel me? Gonna take you through these tests. You feel me? You're gonna go through these little phases in life, yo. You know what I'm saying? And at the end of the day, you just gotta recognize that one, it's the adversary trying to knock you off your pivot, and then it's God trying to teach you something. You feel me? Right. Anything that you go through, you gonna get through. It's called going through. You feel me? That's why it's called going through. You going through something. Right. You feel me? Because after you go through it, you get through it. You look back on it like, damn, I got that. You feel what I'm saying?
For this and more, be sure to tune into BeExposedRadio.com every Friday from 9 o'clock to 11 o'clock p.m. to listen to more of It Is What It Is radio show.
You are listening to BeExposedRadio.com.
We back on?
Because Sam was so close, I can see Sam's if I needed to.
All right, so welcome back everybody to the Black Bottom Man Radio Show. We are talking the laws of human nature today, right? So we was going over the biases, and now we was doing what, the blame bias? Is that what we was on?
Oh, we're doing the blame bias?
Hey, somebody just ordered the Black Bottom Man hoodie. We just got the notification. Word. Thank you. Whoever you are, thank you. We appreciate you. All right, so yeah, so we was doing...
That's our advertising we doing today.
I got volume.
I was looking at this screen. I was like, yeah, we look mad official.
We look mad official. Can't wait to take some pictures in our BBD hoodies.
It's all our advertising we doing today up here on the show.
Yeah, we advertising for us. So I believe we on. We're on, everyone. We're on. All right, so let's go over these other biases so we can move on. So the next bias is the superiority bias. This is the person who says, I'm different. I'm more rational than others, and I'm more ethical as well. So this would probably be like your bosses at work. You get what I'm saying? Few would say this to people in conversation. It sounds arrogant. But in numerous opinion polls and studies, when asked to compare themselves with others, people generally express a variation of this. It is the equivalent of an optical illusion. We cannot seem to see our faults or irrationalities, only those of others. We feel a tremendous pull to imagine ourselves as rational, decent, and ethical. These are qualities highly promoted in the culture. To show signs otherwise is to risk great disapproval. If all of this were true, if people were rational and morally superior, the world would be suffused with goodness and peace. Right. We know, however, the reality, and so some people perhaps all of us, are merely deceiving ourselves. Rationality and ethical qualities must be achieved through awareness and efforts. They do not come naturally. They come through a maturation process. Okay, so yeah, about that. The superiority bias. So he's saying it's people who just naturally believe they're more rational than everybody else. You know what I mean? That's what makes them superior. And he's saying it's not true. He's saying it's not true at all. It's just what they choose to believe. Because he's saying the only way that you can become rational is by practicing it. You know, so for those who act like they're naturally this way, he's saying it's not true because it's human nature to be irrational.
So he's saying those who act like they're naturally this way.
Right.
Yeah, that's
He's like, it's not true. You know, now if they did the research and studied and practiced for years, and he was like, and most of it comes through maturity. You know, like you mature as you grow older and you tend to handle situations a little bit different. You know, some of that fire comes out of you.
I mean, just think about it. You would have to practice. There's no way you're going to say you have no type of bias in you whatsoever.
Right. Because we all do, one way, shape, or form. And he's saying if it was true for the people who believe this, then like the whole world would be a better place.
Right.
So this is definitely not true. So this is the superiority bias. I think of leaders and bosses when I think of this.
That's what I was about to say. Does that come from like the position that you hold, like employee, supervisor, like
right?
That person in the upper leadership role is going to have that.
Right, that vibe where they feel like they control things better than you, control their emotions better. You know, I want to talk to you about the way you handled that situation.
Yeah, of course.
You
That's
know,
what
instead of just being like, listen, I understand, you know, but let's just talk about a better way to deal with it.
Well,
that's what I'm getting from it.
Of course, they're going to think that way because just think they're going to. In their minds, they're going to be like, this is the reason I'm in this position.
This is the reason I'm the manager.
And you are not.
Right.
Because I'm more rational.
Right.
You know, at this than you.
Which matches the initial statement where he says, I'm different. I'm more rational than others. More ethical as well. That's your boss.
All jokes aside,
yeah, that's your boss, right?
Yes.
That's your boss. So he's saying, you know, this is nonsense. All right, so that was the last bias as far as recognizing the biases, because that's what he said, right? Step one was recognizing the biases. So let's move to step two. Step two is beware of the inflaming factors. So the first inflaming factor is trigger points from early childhood. The way to recognize this in yourself and in others is by noticing behavior that is suddenly childish in its intensity and seemingly out of character.
Wow.
He's saying that's something stemming from childhood. Now, we often will say that in regards to somebody like the person was acting childish, you know what I mean? Or I was acting childish, or she was acting childish, or whatever. So he's saying it's truth in that. It's triggers coming from childhood. Things that happen, you know, in your life. You didn't get the approval from your father the way you wanted, or your mother, you know, your uncle touched you. I mean, I don't know. I'm just guessing, you know, I'm just saying. Triggers, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
triggers.
Everybody got them.
Right, everybody's got them. So he's saying you got to beware of them. This is step two, beware of the inflaming factors. So the first one is trigger points from early childhood. What other examples could be trigger points of early childhood? That could cause you to be, you know, irrational as an adult.
Just
you were bullied as a child?
I was going to say
bullying. Good one.
Yeah.
That's a good one. Childhood bullying. Yeah, that's a good one. Because that could cause you to react like in a very inappropriate way. If that feeling comes over them, even though it might be your supervisor, your boss who's really not even trying to convey that feeling, but because it triggers your childhood memories,
or
you can feel bullied.
Even if it's not happening to you per se, it could be happening to somebody else, but you witnessing it could be that trigger for you, you know, to make you want to react in a certain way.
Absolutely. Okay, so beware of the inflaming factors. The second inflaming factor is sudden gains or losses. So it says sudden success or winnings can be very dangerous. Neurologically, chemicals are released in the brain to give a powerful jolt of arousal and energy, leading to the desire to repeat this experience. It can start an addiction and manic behavior. Unexpected losses or strain of losses equally creates irrational reactions. We imagine we are cursed with bad luck and that this will go on indefinitely. We become fearful and hesitant, which will often lead to more mistakes and failures. The solution is simple. Whenever you experience unusual gains or losses, that is precisely the time to step back and counterbalance them with some necessary pessimism and optimism. Now, losses, I get. I didn't know games could, you know, put you in a certain state of mind of being irrational. Because he said it becomes addictive.
Yeah.
Now, what I think about when I think of that is gambling.
Yeah, that's my first thought.
Yeah, gambling, right? All it took was that one time he won that $7,000. He been in that casino for the next 4 years trying to get that $7,000 back, right? So I think that's what he's getting at. Like, that could happen even in your life. You know, say you get your 15 minutes of fame. You know what I mean? And then boom, it's over. You want that back. You know what I mean? You became addicted to it just in that short period of time. You know, like celebrities go through that. You know what I mean? Celebrities. That's how they end up on drugs and all that. You know, like I can only imagine. I ain't never been there, right? But I can only imagine like you're just person. Everybody's flashing cameras and, you know, you're hot. You're making millions of dollars, this, that, blah, blah, blah. And then you reach a point where like you're in Walmart. Nobody even knows you. You know what I mean? Like you showing up at the red carpet and they stopping you. Like, you got to pass. You're like, wait a minute. I'm, you know, such and such.
So what exactly is he saying about that again?
He's saying that's one of the triggers. You know what I mean? That's one of the triggers for emotional responses. Being irrational. You get what I'm saying? Being irrational. Go ahead. You had something in mind?
When you were talking about the whole celebrity thing and, you know, not being a reality anymore, I just got that vision in my head. Is it the 5 Heartbeats or the Temptations where Eddie Kane has all his shinies? He's walking back trying to sing the song. I just had it in my mind.
Right. And that's a movie we all seen. So.
Was it Temptations or the 5?
I thought it was the 5 Heartbeats.
Yes.
Yeah, I thought it was the 5 Heartbeats.
That's just what was in my mind as you were talking about.
Couldn't handle it, right?
Yeah.
You're not that dude no more.
Nope.
He said, y'all ain't nothing without me.
Y'all terrible.
You know, how y'all going? You know what I mean? Make it without me. You know? So, yeah, so these are one of the inflaming factors. So, of course, inflaming meaning these factors can trigger, you know, an irrational emotional response. You know what I mean? So these are things to look out for. These are things to look out for. The next one is rising pressure. It says, whenever you notice rising pressure and stress levels in your life, you must watch yourself carefully. Monitor any signs of unusual brittleness or sensitivity, sudden suspiciousness, fears disproportionate to the circumstances. Observe with as much detachment as possible, finding the time and space to be alone. You need perspective. Never imagine that you are someone who can withstand rising stress without emotional leakage. It is not possible. But through self-awareness and reflection, you can prevent yourself from making decisions you will come to regret. Now, I definitely know I'm a victim of that because I've dealt with rising pressures and I feel like I handle them well. But he's saying you're foolish if you think it's not leaking out somewhere.
Right.
So,
No,
you know,
it is. Like,
it is.
I've literally, like, recently, like, I was so stressed. And it's like you get to a breaking point and it's like you feel like you're stuck.
Right.
And I literally had to sit down and make a list of all the things that I was unhappy with and pinpoint like where I was going wrong at. And having that list,
I
like,
am impressed. I'm sorry, I just am because like I'm way older than you. Like I don't do that shit.
Well, it wasn't like I thought to do it.
Yeah, but I'm
Somebody
just
was
saying
like,
that's just great that you even think like that. Yeah.
But in the midst of trying to hold it all in together, it was like, come on. At some point, you're gonna break. You gotta.
Yeah, rising pressure. He's saying monitor it. You know what I mean? Peep it. When you see yourself getting extra sensitive, when you see yourself reacting more severely to a circumstance and really not calling for that. Right. He's saying these are some of the triggers you got to look out for. You know, that pressure is building up on you.
Because you're not even reacting to what's really going on. You reacted to everything else that you already got going on.
Right. You leaving McDonald's like, they ain't put no goddamn stuff in there. I'm so goddamn tired of it. You going up to McDonald's, where's my goddamn straw at? They looking at you like, whoa, bro. You
saw,
all right?
you saw the incident when that lady went through the McDonald's door because she didn't give her a sauce or something and beat the lady up.
Right.
Where did that come from?
That's a good example because all of this throughout this chapter, he's trying to teach that when we are on the other end of that, like you said with the woman at McDonald's, right? He's saying we got to control the way we react to it.
Right.
Again, easier said than done. But he's saying you got to be able to look at that person and not let them get you upset and just know she dealing with something else. Ain't got nothing to do with me.
No, that is exactly.
You over here taking it out on me, right? Yeah.
Especially working in like retail. People come in, they treat you bad.
Right.
And you have to learn not to take it personal, for one. And two,
That's good
That's
restraint.
what happened between 9 and 5 o'clock. After that, you don't have no interaction, so it's not going to affect me.
Right.
But just knowing that whatever you got going on, you take it out on me, whatever.
Right. Yeah. I think that's definitely the basis of this chapter for sure.
I just had an incident like that happen to me not too long ago. But the funny thing is, like, the other person knew, like, it had nothing to do with them. Like, I was mad over a situation, and it's like they got all the backlash, and they sitting up there like, wait, I know this have nothing to do with me.
Right.
This is from what happened earlier. And
see, the older folks knew about that. Now, I didn't know that that's what they was doing back then. But think about when you, especially if you was younger, you see older folks, and they get in a situation like that, and the person's going crazy, and the older folks just looking at them and say, I'm gonna pray for you, baby. I'm gonna pray for you. You just cussed me out. All I asked was for some napkins. Yes, I'm gonna pray for you. So they kind of knew, you know what I mean? Like, this ain't got nothing to do with me. You know what I mean? Because I know I haven't had that mindset. You know, as black people, we rise to the occasion. So you come off acting crazy, we get crazy right with you. Like, you know what? I'm on my lunch break, but I got 5 minutes to get crazy with you real quick. I got time for you. So yeah, beware of the rising pressure.
That's good.
That's a inflaming factor. The next one is inflaming individuals. These are people in the world who by their nature tend to trigger powerful emotions in almost everyone they encounter. These emotions range among the extremes of love, hatred, confidence, and mistrust. It's best to recognize these inflamers by how they affect others, not just yourself. So these are people that you feel push your buttons all the time. And evidently not just you who feels it. They're saying other people look like, yeah, I don't like him either. You get what I'm saying? So you got to be aware of those type of people. I don't know anybody offhand that I could think of where I could say, you know, I don't like him, this person don't like him, that person don't like him. Oh, yes, I do. Donald Trump. Hey, there we go. There's your inflaming factor, right? Right? He's a good example of that, right? Because he's saying, look, these are people in the world who by their nature tend to trigger powerful emotions in everyone they encounter. All emotions. Love, hatred, confidence. He's triggering all of that. Good example, Brother Mike. See that, Trump? I slipped you in there, man. We ain't supposed to talk about you on this show.
That's the first thing I said over here in my mind. Like, we don't give Trump no play on the BBD.
We got you in there, man. We slipped you in. We slipped you in. So yeah, inflaming individuals. So have you ever been in a situation where you seeing someone or somewhere, work, whatever, you ain't really had too much interaction with them, but you kind of feel like you may not really care for them that much?
Yeah.
Well, that's the person they're talking about.
Yeah, I know.
You know what I mean? I know. You got a name in your head when you said that. I saw a name put up across your head. I just couldn't read it. That is funny.
I know who said to me, huh?
Right.
That rubbed me the wrong way.
Yeah.
And they know it too.
They know it too?
Yeah.
Okay.
We coexist.
We coexist,
way,
right?
I go my way.
And that's the best way to be. Yeah. It is the best way to be. Because if they affect you, where you're changing your mood and your attitude, then they're winning.
Yeah.
They're winning. All right. So the next one is the group effect. So he said this is the high grade variety of the group bias. And we went over the group bias earlier. When we are in a group of large enough size, we become different. Notice yourself and others at a sporting event, a concert, a religious or political gathering. It is impossible not to feel yourself caught up in the collective emotions. The group effect does not necessarily require the presence of others. It can occur virally as some opinions spread over social media and infects us with the desire to share the opinion, generally of strong, varied, and such as outrage. The group effect.
The group effect.
Again.
Right.
We're back with the group effect. Social media, we definitely know that.
I was going to say, obviously, the group effect is a big deal.
The last one I seen was the dude with the neck. People went crazy. The brother that had the real thick neck.
Oh.
See, that's a group effect. Everybody and their mother making videos. You know now him and the little white boy with the skinny neck got a video.
Do they really?
Yeah. Social media will blow you up. But that's an example of the group effect, right? Like they had neck jokes for days.
Oh my gosh! Just the thought of those posts is just
all them posts, all them jokes.
Yeah.
He's up to his neck in jokes. Up to his neck in jokes. So yeah, so even social media can do it. What else on the group effect? It was something else I just read. Oh yeah, it says when we in a large group we become different. You know when I noticed that? I kid you not. I noticed that back in the day with the Jerry Springer show. I don't know if you might not be that familiar with the Jerry Springer. Okay. I noticed that back in the day because on the Jerry Springer show, it was like a common theme. Like whoever cheated was just like the worst person ever. Everybody, all this, oh, boo. You know what I mean? I used to be looking like half them people in there probably did the same thing she did or the same thing he did. But like we're so judgmental as a group. You get what I mean? And that's why I recommend that you don't do jury trials if you have to go to court. Because if you think 12 people about to sit down and look at you and not judge you, you're in trouble, bro.
Didn't the group effect just take Ray Rice's career?
I'm trying to tell you, you in trouble. Nate, we up on break? Okay, all right. All right, so the next one is step 3. So these are the strategies toward bringing out the rational self. So first one is know yourself thoroughly. The emotional self thrives on ignorance. The moment you are aware of how it operates and dominates you is the moment it loses its hold on you and can be tamed. Therefore, your first step toward this purpose, you must reflect on how you operate under stress. What particular weakness comes out in such moments? The desire to please, to bully, to control, deep levels of mistrust. What is it? Look at your decisions, especially those that have been ineffective. Can you see a pattern? Are there any underlying insecurities that impels them? Examine your strengths, what makes you different from other people. This will help you decide upon goals that mesh with your own long-term interests and that are aligned with your skills. By knowing and valuing what marks you as different, you will also be able to resist the pull of the group bias in effect. Nice. Now I like that. Yeah. Know yourself. Get to know yourself. Because could just be my feeling. Y'all correct me if I'm wrong. But like I feel like as a community of people, certain things we don't nurture. You know, like we nurture sports, we nurture entertainment, but we don't necessarily nurture, say, science. You get a kid he's like a genius in science, right? Or mathematics or something like that. Doesn't seem like we nurture that too much. Now, I could be wrong. That's just based on my hindsight. What y'all think?
I think it's very true.
How about the first statement? He says the emotional self thrives on ignorance.
Very true.
Very true? Yeah? Any examples of why you think it's true? Or
just because we are so equipped to react, not knowing all the facts.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I see the angle you're getting at. Okay.
You ready to fly
because that is ignorance if you don't know the facts.
Right.
Right. Because even on the last show, when I made the statement that I think there's going to come a time where being an ignorant black person isn't going to be cool. I didn't mean ignorant as in stupid. I meant ignorant as to not knowing certain knowledge. Right. Right. Okay. Got you. And that's what you're saying.
Yes.
Got you. So that would match that. Emotional self thrives on ignorance. Well, he says the moment you're aware of how it operates and dominates you is the moment it loses its hold and can be tamed. So we have to first understand that this is real. Yeah. This dominates us.
It's all about self-awareness.
Self-awareness definitely would have to be a part of that because he's saying know yourself thoroughly. You know what I mean? Know yourself thoroughly. Go ahead.
It's just very good. I mean, like knowing your trigger points, knowing the things that, upset you the most, that's good to know so you can be ready and prepared for it.
Yeah, he says you have to take note of how you react under stress. Now, I know I don't do that. I mean,
yeah, but just like he said, things that even affected you in your childhood.
Yeah, that's can be triggers.
You have to get a hold of that as well.
Right. So recognizing how you respond under stress can help you figure those things out. And he's saying once you get a hold of that, then you're taming, your irrationality. You know what I mean? You're able to tame it. And I think that's really, really good advice because he says, what are your particular weaknesses in such moments? Is it that you want to please? Are you a bully? Do you try to control? Is it deep levels of mistrust? Because at that moment of weakness, it's going to be something along that line. Like you said, even if you just feel like you got bullied.
Yeah.
I got like that because I felt like she was bullying me. Right? You know what I mean? So he's saying that's what you got to examine. And then, when you examine that, why is the bullying thing such an issue for you? And then, like Janice said, that could go back to the childhood triggers.
And then we fix to the root of the problem.
Right. And that's why I think it's good to have these type of conversations because this can only help.
Yeah.
This can't hurt. We're emotional people.
Yeah, and if you really think about it, of course it can only help because if you look at society now with everything that's going on we could go all the way as into like relationships or whatever. Say like so many people, you know, having such a rough time with relationships now, you know, they need to go back or whatever to some of the prior relationships, and you know, a lot of things that they holding on to, you know, is triggering what's going on now.
True. That could be one of the triggers for your irrationality, not
making your
having
emotions go
self-control.
Right.
Wrap it up. Okay. All right.
So
good. Okay, so we up on another break, everyone. Stay with us. We're going to finish up with the last segment. Actually, it's not the last half. Black Bottom Man Radio Show. We talking laws of human nature. Stay with us. Yeah, that was a really good point. I like that.
Driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text. Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. Or better yet, designate a texter. For more text-free driving tips, visit stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
Green light. Hey girl, school zone. I'm getting hungry. Car changing lanes. You want to meet me for pizza? Stop sign. Intersection clear. Yeah, street. Pizza sounds good. Ball in street? Girl in street!
It's hard to concentrate on two things at once, like texting and driving. Stop the text, stop the wrecks. How will you stop texting and driving? Tell us at stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Whoa. The moment my son saw a redwood tree
It's huge!
is the moment I knew that for him,
You can't even see the top of that thing.
even the sky has no limit.
There are some moments only the forest can inspire. Find yours at discovertheforest.org. Learn about forests near you and discover cool things to do when you go. Your moment is out there. Find it at discovertheforest.org.
Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Join the Just a Bit Outside crew every Monday, 8 to 10 p.m. on BeExposedRadio.com.
You want to start off?
I think I'll get it out of the way on a who's not.
Okay, do it.
The Orioles.
Right.
They got swept by the Royals. They lost 4 in a row, and the last 5 games have all been decided by 1 run. The game before, or the last game that they lost before the Royals was the Nationals, and it was Weeders, of course, won with a home run.
Hit the home run.
Right. They're going into that national series. It seemed like they were doing so well, and they just crapped out. They got that game postponed, so who knows when they're going to replay that or play that game. That's my first not for the night.
Okay. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and weigh in on my who's not, and I'm going to talk about the San Diego Padres.
The Padres. That's okay. You just took my answer.
They're in last place in the NL West. They've lost 8 of their last 10. Their run differential is a negative 65, which is just horrible. So when you have, well, let me just talk about run differential a little bit. It's kind of like the
how much you're winning or losing your games by, pretty much.
Yeah. Okay. It's like the margin of victory, kind of.
Right.
So when you're in a negative number, that means that then
your average game you're losing
by a whole lot.
Right.
I mean, a number like negative 65, this early in the season is pretty rough.
That's horrible.
The pitching numbers pretty much support this stat right here. I mean,
you are listening to BeExposedRadio.com.
Okay. All right. So we back, everybody. Welcome back. So we finishing up step 3, which is the strategies towards bringing out the rational self. So we did know yourself thoroughly. Next is examine your emotions to the root. You are angry. Thank you. Let the feeling settle from within and think about it. Was it triggered by something seemingly trivial or petty? That is a sure sign that something or someone else is behind it. Perhaps a more comfortable emotion is at the source, such as envy or paranoia. You need to look at this square in the eye. Dig below any trigger points to see where they started. For these purposes, it might be wise to use a journal in which you record your self-assessments with ruthless objectivity. Your greatest danger here is your ego and how it will make you unconsciously maintain illusions about yourself. These may be comforting in the moment, but in the long run, they make you defensive and unable to learn progress. Find a neutral position from which you can observe your actions with a bit of detachment and even humor. Soon, all of this will become second nature, and when the emotional self suddenly rears its head in some situation, you will see it as it happens and be able to step back and find that neutral position. And that's what you're referring to, stepping back, finding that neutral position. So, yeah, emotions, get to the root. Get to the root of why you even feeling that way.
Why you even so angry?
Yeah, why you so angry? Because he just told me I was angry.
But how do you get, like, you get to the root and you know why, but you still can't stop yourself from feeling the anger?
Yeah, and I think that's why he said it takes practice.
Yeah, it takes practice and
maturation.
And getting to the root. Because until you get to the root, you're still never going to be able to control that anger until you really figure out where it's coming from.
So I've tried. Like, I can sit here and be like, well, I'm upset because of whatever's going on. But it doesn't stop the physical anger that's like in my body. Like, it's not a rational, like, that I should have this response. But, and I know I shouldn't feel like this, but I still do. So I think that's the disconnect of recognizing and being able to follow through with stepping back from it.
Well, I think at 27 years old, I think you're doing pretty good. You know, just the fact to even have that conversation at that age. But go ahead.
But even back when I used to go through that, and even when I used to like try to find a root or whatever, and I'd be searching for the root, searching and go back and go back and go back, and it was like the simplest thing, you know, once I did find out exactly what it was. And it was just simply, in my case, just because I was just simply unhappy. Just not happy or whatever, but I was just looking for like a specific thing, like what was causing it, but it wasn't. So
that's great information. See, when we do little confessions like that, I think it helps people. Someone else is watching this going to be relate to what she just said. So, yeah, you know, I did the same thing. All right, so the next one is increase your reaction time. This power comes through practice and repetition. When some event or interactions require a response, you must train yourself to step back. This could mean physically removing yourself to a place where you can be alone and not feeling any pressure to respond. Or it could mean writing an angry email but not sending it. You sleep on it for a day or two. You do not make phone calls or communicate while feeling some sudden emotion, particularly resentment. Consider this like resistance training. The longer you can resist reacting, the more mental space you have for actual reflection and the stronger your mind will become. I want to touch on the part about you don't get on the phone. Cause
that's the part that I have issue with, but you tell me why you feel.
Well, I think it's common amongst us. That's why it touched with me. You know what I mean? Like I've been the one making the phone call. I've been the one receiving the phone call, and it doesn't really get anything done. You know what I mean?
It doesn't. But going back to the whole stepping outside of the argument or the altercation or whatever. That lack of communication during that time, it seems like it almost comes off as like nonchalance or you don't care. So I feel like it's a good tactic to use to step outside and be able to have like a rational thought about why you're, you know, arguing. But it takes two to have that same thought. Like you can't argue with somebody that wants to be in your face and be like, oh well, we're gonna talk about this now. And
right.
You can't argue with an immature person that's not on that type of time.
True.
So it's like either you're going to be mature and you're going to be mature and we can both step back, or it's just not going to work.
But what if in, you know, the argument, you know, both people are biased. So that person thinking like, I'm right about it, and you're thinking you're right about it. Like still. Like,
but you're not even in the mindset to have a conversation and talk about it because you're just going to be arguing your points and then ain't nothing going to really get resolved.
But with, you know, I think I am in the mindset of talking about it. So we still at that confrontation, like, because we both biased.
Right.
So
I think that's why he said this power comes through practice and repetition. You know?
So how do one, like, so one have to actually be like, you know how people be like, well, I'm gonna be the bigger person, like, and I'm gonna just go ahead and like how do you get to a conclusion inside of all of that? Like,
that's the tough part.
It is. Increase your reaction time.
Well,
Train yourself to step back.
Yeah, you can step back, and a lot of times too, you can stop. Even when you go to make that phone call, maybe you can stop making the phone call to the people that you know is going to give you the same idea you have, and call that rational person that nobody likes to call. Like, I'm not calling that person because you already know what they're going to be like. Yeah, it's your fault.
Right.
Maybe you should start making that phone call to the rational.
Start a lot of trouble in black families. Start a lot of internal beefs with them phone calls.
Yeah, but maybe you should make the phone call to the rational person, so maybe you can get some better insight. Yeah, versus the advice.
Yeah, I like his approach. He's saying just step back. Period.
From the phone call. Don't call nobody.
I like to step back. I like to, you know what, we can separate, but a lot of times that comes off as being it's like I don't care or it's not important to me.
I think it can be mistaken for that.
But if and I've actually had to tell somebody like, look, I'm not saying I don't care. I just think we both going like we cursing. It's getting to a point now where we can't even have.
I need a moment. I need a moment.
We need to step back because we're not solving
perspective.
Any issues.
He calls it perspective. He says you need perspective. You need to fall back. Stepping back is interesting, especially for us as black people, because in my opinion, black people do the exact opposite. I know I'm just as guilty. I'm stepping to you.
Yeah,
we used to literally say you need to step to him.
Yes, that's exactly
that's it, right? He's saying you need to step back. So
I'm actually a person.
Step back as being better.
Yeah, I'm actually a person that like steps back now. I'm actually a person who don't get on the phone and would sit there and think about everything that happened.
Yeah.
Well, I'm definitely proud of you. I'm a work in progress.
So you're the only one that wants to step back.
Time to time, I may step to you. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I'm reading everybody. I'm getting better. I'm reading. I'm getting better.
That's the book for you.
All right, so we're running out of time, so I'll just go over the last few. So the next one was accept people as facts, then find the optimal balance of thinking and emotion. I'll read the top part of this. Well, I'm going to read this one because this one's good. It says, we cannot divorce emotions from thinking. The two are completely intertwined. But it is inevitably a dominant factor. Some people are more clearly governed by emotions than others. What we are looking for is the proper ratio and balance, the one that leads to the most effective action. That's perfect what you were saying. The Greeks has an appropriate metaphor for this. It's called the rider and the horse. The horse is our emotional nature continually impelling us to move. The horse has tremendous energy and power, but without a rider, it cannot be guided. It is wild, subject to predators, and continually heading into trouble. The rider is our shining self. Through training and practice, it holds the reins and guides the horse, transforming this powerful animal energy into something productive. The one without the other is useless. Without the rider, no directed movement or purpose. Without the horse, no energy, no power. And most people, the horse dominates and the rider is weak. And some people, the rider is too strong, holds the reins too tightly, and is afraid to occasionally let the animal go into gallop. The horse and the rider must work together. This means we consider our actions beforehand, and we bring as much thinking as possible to a situation before we make a decision. But once we decide what we do, we loosen the reins and interaction with boldness and spirit of adventure. Instead of being slaves to this energy, we channel it. This is the essence of rationality. So we got to be the rider and the horse. Right? That was an interesting analogy.
Very good. Right.
Maybe I'll try to go deeper on it on the next show. We'll bring this up a little bit. But for now, we are out of time, everyone. We thank you for tuning in with this show, The Laws of Human Nature. That was actually chapter 1. We will be going over other chapters in this book because I think it's great information. You know what I mean? We're bringing something different to the table. Great. So I hope everybody enjoyed this little discussion. And again, this book is called The Laws of Human Nature by Robert Greene. I am not being paid to advertise this, but I love my people so much. I want you to have knowledge even if no one's paying me to give it to you. So on behalf of the Black Body Man Radio Show, my co-host, the lovely Miss Janice, and our awesome team member, Miss Samantha Glam by Sam, I'm your host, Brother Mike. We thank you for tuning in. I'll catch you on the flip side, black side. Peace.
Join the club that gives you stuff. Hey, thanks! Radio Loyalty. Here's how it works. Just click on the Radio Loyalty banner right now and sign up. Then you keep on listening like you already do. But now you earn points. Those points add up, and you can trade them in for stuff in the Radio Loyalty store. Earn more points by sharing your station with friends on Facebook and Twitter, answering surveys, and by using the apps in the New Players App Store. Pretty simple, right? Radio Loyalty. Click that banner to join now.
Hi, I'm LeVar Burton.